Welcome back to the 88.1 WHPR Wake Up Radio Show. We got guests in the building, a whole lot of guests up in here. A whole lot, about 10 people that showed up, and a cameraman. So this is about to go big up in here. I'm going to turn it over to my man OG. What's going on, OG?
Right now, this is the segment right now where we brought some brothers in. All these brothers are doing something good, great, and unique in our community. All these brothers, we all have a similar story, so to speak. These brothers were once convicted in the Michigan Department of Corrections. These men have been out. They're doing positive things in the community. These men have books, and they have a lot of wisdom to share with people in the community. These guys are come so they can talk about some of the things that they're doing. Also to let people know who may have loved ones incarcerated that there is hope after prison, that they can succeed after prison, that they do not have to repeat going through a revolving door after imprisonment. So I have 3 guests, and my guests are Mr. Philip Sample. A lot of people may know him as Uchi Khan, or with the group HMI in Detroit. He's also one of the legends in the hip-hop industry in Detroit.
Okay.
We have Mr. Justin Gordon, whom I just had the pleasure of meeting, thanks to Miss Essence Gray, who is the personal assistant that I'm vetting right now. She's doing a great job also. Then we have Mr. Mark Lenard. Lenard, thank you, brother. And so,
so happens to went to Kettering, didn't you?
Yes.
You went to Kettering.
Another Kettering alumni.
In the house.
That's right.
All right. So right now, what we're going to talk about, I want to give these brothers an opportunity to introduce themselves, and then we're going to get off into our discussions. Starting with Justin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gant. I appreciate you having me. First off, I've never been to prison. I did not go to prison. I want to let everybody know, but I was on felony probation. I was facing 15 years of prison at 17 years old. So I've been actually in the Michigan Department of Corrections. I've had a number. I've been in the system, and I've been, in that world since 17. So all of my adult life, I did 3 months when I was in jail. I did 3 months in jail. I went to jail a few different times during that probation time, but the longest I spent was 3 months in county jail, both in Washington and Oakland. But I did 5 years of felony probation where I had to do everything imaginable, in probation, and we can attest and we can talk about, the pitfalls and the dangers of that. But I wanted to, say that now, and just let everybody know that. But but now since all of that, because I did get off probation, and I know we're here to talk about what we're doing afterwards. Yes, I'm an author. I'm an honors graduate from the University of Michigan.
All right.
I finished with a 3.5, and I did the commencement speech for the English department at my university. And I didn't want to just come home with a piece of paper that said I did that, because in reality, that really means nothing, especially when you got a felony. I still struggle to find a job. I signed a contract with the NFL to be a creative director for the NFL films. They flew me out to Jersey. I competed with students from Duke, USC, everybody around the country. They picked me, $60K a year. They signed me. Who were the HR in New York and corporate, NFL, the corporate side, ripped it up. They said, we good. They terminated the contract. And since then, I've been having a pattern of that. So, yes, I'm at this point, I'm almost forced to be an entrepreneur, but I love it though. I know God, God built me for this. So thank you for having me.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Lenard.
Okay. My name is Mark Lenard. I'm formerly a federal prisoner of 7 years, and during my time in prison, I discovered I discovered God basically, and He blessed me with the talent to write and create. And from there, I went to write my first novel, which actually took me 13 years to publish, and I self-published it, and I released a couple other short stories. And I'm also the founder of an organization called Detroit Equals Family, which will be kicking off our inaugural picnic in August. And the premise of our foundation is to bring the family feel back to the neighborhoods, as a way to, bring our community closer, and as a way to, reach out to these kids and show them something different, in these neighborhoods. Because when I grew up, what I saw in my neighborhood, I saw drug dealers and, and things like that, and eventually that's what I became. And I'm a firm believer that, these kids will only be what they see. And with Detroit Equals Family, our mission is to, bring that family feel back to the neighborhood while reaching out to these kids and just showing them something different in a creative way, which will include writing and anything that deals with just being creative, the arts. That's my mission.
Thank you. Mr. Sample.
Brother Phil, Philip, N.G. Khan, formerly incarcerated person, activist, author, artist, father, brother, comrade, revolutionary, which starts with self. Been home 10 years, did 15 years. Went through all the phases of development, from the rage and anger to the breakdown, to, like the brothers say, finding God, which is equivalent to finding self. Terrible, heinous crime. So, heavy weight on the conscience, which can only be absolved through action. So, my mission is basically to go back to the block, which is now just an empty field, where I made the mess, buy the block since it's up for grabs, and do something for the babies that they don't have to go through what I went through, right? So it's restorative, right? You can't do something without doing something about the something you did. When you do something, words become null and void. You have to do something, right? So that's the activism part, like we must live that, like that's the solve. And I know we're gonna talk about when you get out how to stay out. That's it right there. That's the medicine.
Yes, sir.
That's the medicine. I got a question. All y'all said the same thing, in which it was hard once you got out. What was the hardest thing for each and every one of y'all? What was actually the hardest thing as far as trying to stay right in the city? What was the hardest thing? Trying not to fall back into the system.
Before they answer that question, because I don't get my resume out.
You don't get a resume out?
I don't. However, right now I will.
Okay.
Give a little synopsis about myself, because a lot of people want to know who is Oliver Gann.
Right.
Well, me, I'm also an ex-felon. I spent almost 20 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. I've been home since 2014. Since 2014, I've ran for city council. I'm an activist. I'm a spokesperson for families who have been victimized by police brutality, notably the Theo Gray case out there in St. Clair Shores, where the police murdered their dog and tried to blame it on this young man. The case of Demond Grimes, the 15-year-old who was tased by Mark Besner, who was just convicted after 2 trials. So I do a number of things. I'm a businessman in the community, and ceaselessly I give. Giving is what I do. That's what I live for, to give. So like these men sitting here on this panel today, I think we all have something in common. And for the corrections, for Mr. Gordon being in the Department of Corrections, yet we still have something in common, because we all have had felonies, or have been felons, or ex-felons. And I say ex-felons because I don't allow that tag to be defining to me, and I know these men don't allow that to be a tag that they're defined by, based on what we're doing right now in our communities today. So with that, we'll go off into that, answering that question.
Right. What was the hardest thing once you got out trying to find a job or something like that? What was the hardest thing for each and every one of you guys to reestablish yourself back out here in society?
I would say, due to how I did my bid, it wasn't hard at all.
Okay.
You know, I think when you get in a pattern of doing things and being a part of things, positive things, you come out and follow that pattern. I also believe in the secret. I thought about my success and what I would do so hard that it couldn't do nothing but manifest, right? So yeah, I guess what's hard now is learning this nonprofit game and different pieces to the chessboard that you never pushed forward because you didn't understand them, right? And getting other people to embrace my madness, right? Because my madness is true. Look, who wouldn't be mad? 15 years incarcerated in some of the most severe of circumstances. So who wouldn't be affected? But however, there's some divinity in that. So my mission is kind of divine, or so I like to believe. And getting other, you know, they say that Noah was considered crazy when he said God told him to build this giant boat, that rain was coming, right? So sometimes the prophet is considered mad.
Right.
So the hard part is getting people to embrace the madness.
Okay. What about you guys?
Oh, well, for me, the hardest part was, it was getting a job. I mean, because I was out for like 6-7 months, and I filled out hundreds of applications, and I didn't even get not one call back. Wow. And the only way I ended up getting a job, I went down to the city county building. They were having a city council meetings, and I was invited down there by a woman, Miss Holton. She was like she ran the re-entry program. She told me to come down there, and you know, once you go down there, you got to stand up and speak about, you know, why you're down there, tell them who you are. So I got up and basically I told them who I was, and I told them what I was going through and everything. And at the end of the meeting, I met a guy. A guy came up to me. He was like, he heard everything I was saying, and he was like, I wish I could get you a job, but I don't know anything right now. But he ended up talking to somebody else who was incarcerated for like 10 years. She was a manager at a property preservation place. And basically she called me, and that's the only way I got a job, and that was the hardest part. And also hanging around old friends who are still doing the same thing, you know.
Okay.
And you know how they look at
Wow.
you. Get out, they're expecting you to, you know, get back out here, get in the game and all this, but you know, that was just something I wasn't interested in. And my best friends were, you know, still involved in that life. So it was hard, you know, separating myself from that and, you know, just staying, you know, where I knew I was supposed to be. So that was the hard part for me.
Yeah, you know, definitely, you know, everything, you know, that these two of my big brothers already just said was also at times the hardest part, you know. And I would say, just to add to something, you know, the hardest part I would say is listening to that inner voice. The hardest part sometimes be listening to that quiet, positive inner voice that we all got. And cause sometimes, you know, being in the system can cause like the culture of negativity. And then sometimes that negativity can get into your self-talk, and then that's gonna manifest like Big Bro was saying. You're gonna manifest what begins in the mind, and that's what this culture, that's what this new age slavery, that's what this oppression does. It creates a culture of negativity. I would say listening to that inner voice and then making that inner voice louder is the hardest part, because you know you don't want to. It's hard, and if you really want to get to your higher self, it's gonna be lonely.
Okay.
It's gonna be lonely, and being lonely is I would say the hardest part for me currently right now. You know, because I know it's gonna be times. It's gonna be, I can't take everybody where I'm going. I can't. It's gonna be some place I can't take nobody, and that's lonely, and I ain't used to that. And I don't, you know, and that's difficult for me. It might be for a lot of people.
Now we get ready to go off to a song right now. We're gonna sit back and.
We're going to come back and talk to the guys a little bit more. We're going to talk about the positive side, what they're doing out here. 881 WHPR. Mike's out, y'all. Free talk.
All right. That loneliness, I mean, even me, what I'm doing right now, I don't have a lot of people behind me, and I have not even been nowhere. And so it's like I'm by myself a lot. So it's going to be like that because people don't want to help, don't want to be there for you, and that's how some people are. And some people can't be there, you know, some people can't, so it's going to be like that. I do find myself being by myself, doing what I have to do by myself, and to make it happen, you're going to have to do it by yourself. So don't give up, whatever you do.
Right, no, I know it's a time and a place. I know, you know, the Bible talks about the time and place. Right? It's a time to be alone. It's a time to make coalitions. That's why I feel like, you know, being here may be one of them times. Because I've been reading about the Rainbow Coalition. You know, just for example, you know, the Rainbow Coalition has particularly some history in the late 60s in Chicago, where the poor white people, poor Puerto Ricans, and poor black people all got together and started really, you know, affecting change, you know. And so I feel like we can't bond also in our loneliness too. You know, and we truly spend time with ourselves. We love and respect ourselves. When we do interact with others, I think it'll be even a greater occurrence. You know, I ain't trying to say like, I ain't trying to be away from everybody, but I know it's a time for that.
You know what it takes.
It's time to join together.
Get to where you got to get to.
Right.
Yeah.
See, if you feel it's time to do some joining together, make sure you take his number, bro.
That's right.
It's out here. It's available. You too. Yeah. I'm gonna talk about it in a minute, man. One of the things that I'm a part of is the former incarcerated people's movement. We just met in New Orleans, over 1,000 strong from all over the place. People just like us, pooling resources. I got a $20,000 grant from them. So it's not just conversation. If you're serious about doing something and coming together with some people that are doing something, I can plug both of y'all in directly. I can sure.
But one thing, fellas, while we having this, because this, I think these type of discussions we need to have more of. You know what I'm saying? Because my whole thing with respect to this is not merely for us, because we're doing what we need to do. It's for those out there who don't know.
Right,
This
right,
is the
yeah.
power
And that's,
of
and,
that. So
and,
we talking through these airways. We got people listening.
yeah.
We stream live to YouTube. People watching. We stream live to Facebook. So we all over social
I
media.
didn't even know you could stream live on
So what we're
YouTube.
saying, we giving this. We want people to know who have loved ones incarcerated.
How you know
Don't
just
let
that?
BS that they can't make it when they get out.
We went to Renaissance
You
together
got
for a
examples
minute,
sitting
but
here.
I went to U of M.
Don't let them tell you anything.
But I met him in high school.
When it gets sticky,
You know what I'm saying? So this is why we sit here, because we example.
So he always been a character too.
Oh, yeah.
We here, they can do it. Right. You know, we all defied the odds. We all still got challenges. We all still struggling every day.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We want to get off and I want to talk about y'all books also.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't had an opportunity, but I want to give y'all an opportunity to give a few minutes about your book and why your book and, you know, the impact from your book and why people should read your book.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Appreciate y'all taking advantage of this platform too. And I'm reaching out to a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to come on. They don't want to tell their story. So I appreciate y'all coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Coming on in. and telling your
Anytime.
story.
Anytime. I come through.
You know.
Intern. I'll sweep up. I hang around.
That's that attitude. Right.
Put some work in.
Right.
You know?
That's what I'm doing right now.
And that's my brother. I'm supporting him in whatever he do.
There you go. There you go. Hey, let me ask you. You said the NFL turned you down once they figured out your.
So yeah, I was ready to graduate from U of M, and we had a website called Handshake. Basically, through that, they was recruiting creative writers. Went through 3 rounds of interviews. They came to Michigan. I told them the first round I got a felony. Second round, they still knew I had a felony. Third round, they flew me out to Jersey. They had people from all over the country there. Did a trial. They flew me back to Detroit. Called me up, hey, you got the job. Send me all the paperwork. I signed everything, looked it over. Was like, hey, you already know how I was feeling.
Right.
I was going, it's all over, you know.
Right.
They sent it back, you know, and they gave it to HR. And then HR was like, they called me up, they got the felony. I knew they was gonna decline me, but they said, oh, we're gonna give a week to like you can say anything you want to like maybe like sway us.
Okay.
So it was over after that. But I think I'm gonna try again.
Good.
Cause somebody just told me like, now that I'm on probation, mine might be different, so I could try again.
Okay. Good. Please.
You know, just to keep it positive.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
Maybe that ain't the path for me though. You know, you see they do us kind of bold. I don't know.
Well, you know how the NFL is, man. That's another topic.
That's
another topic.
Suiting up on the field. You see what I'm saying? That plays a major
Some
role.
cheese though. NFL,
Right.
if you watching, I'll stick some cheese though. I ain't hey look.
Nah, man.
See, you can still boxing,
How you feel that?
training.
Y'all all got business cards to what y'all got going on as far as.
So
Wait
what
a minute.
business-
Come on. Wait a
I was
minute.
gonna say, what businesses?
Because I want to get it on the website. I mean, I want to get it on the page to make sure everybody sees.
Bro, the business cards I had, I gave them out. I gave his business cards out.
Biggest business cards sitting here. They got these books sitting before them.
That's true. That's true.
You know,
We are back, y'all. We're back. 88.1 WHBR, the Wake Up Show. We got so many guests in the house. Ollie, let me turn it back over to you. You know more than I do.
no, I don't.
No.
I'm learning from you. Thank you. So right now, we want to get back with our guests, but what I wanted my guests basically to convey, as well as in telling their stories, I want them to be able to talk to those that are out there listening. I want those who have loved ones who are incarcerated to know that they can get out here and succeed. So a lot of what you're going to hear from these guys, as well as myself, is things to let you know that these guys can get out here. And if they are in prison right now, and if you're talking to these loved ones when they call, when you're putting that money on those phones and accepting those expensive phone calls, talk to them and let them know that, hey, you heard from some guys who let you know to let these guys know that they can make it when they get out of prison. You know, I mean, to me, I'm going to say there's no shortage of jobs. You know, I'm going to say that based on what I've experienced or since being out of prison in 5 years. You know, I was washing cars on 8 Mile and Waltham. You know what I'm saying? I started out washing cars. Somebody thought that would be beneath me because I was used to having things and owning things, but that wasn't beneath me. When you come from having things to going to prison, getting 18 cents a day or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You know, it's something to come home and wash some cars and get some tips and still get a check every Thursday. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So I just took that as a stepping stone and went off to the next level. So these brothers are going to give you things to let you know, to let your loved one know that you can get out here and succeed. That was really the whole point of this discussion today. And I think we need more discussions like this. So if anybody out there has a loved one and you want to know how they can succeed or the path that they can go down, you're going to hear from some brothers with some very powerful information, and you can call in, you can message us, you can inbox us, and just leave a message. So right now, what I want these brothers to talk about are the books that they have written before we get off into the meat. All these brothers are authors, and they all have books that have been published. So right now, starting with the brother, Mr. Philip Sample, I want him to talk about his book and the reasoning behind his book and why you should read his book.
My book, The Passion of the Life, it's a 3-part book: the life, the death, the resurrection. This is the life from my conception to 18 years of age when I went into prison. The death, of course, is those 15 years, and the resurrection I'm still living in. Right now, right? But why I wrote the book, I never thought or saw myself as an author. However, when I found myself in the predicament that I was in, facing life in prison, it didn't make much sense. Like, how did the dude who couldn't sleep without his teddy bear, right, end up here? So to try to make some sense of my own scenario and situation, I started to think and write in my mind, I guess, right? And what happened was, this is how, I ain't trying to spook y'all out, but this is real. I was able to go back to the very beginning. It's like I started opening up to things that I thought that I forgot, right? So again, it starts very young.
I sneak you on there real quick.
Graphic memory, and I think that was just divine favor, right? But why the book is important? One principal wrote the book, read the book.
I don't want to be the reason catch your first felony.
Because of this book, I understand the individuals or the youth that I'm dealing with. That it speaks about the process of how innocent, sensitive boy becomes a menace to society. See, and if you can understand, and by no means am I saying it's nobody's fault, not society's. I probably could, but I'm not going to do that. Not my father's for not being there. At some point we have to be adults and say, that was what it was, and this is my life, right? It's like now I can't say, I did 15 years incarcerated, so it's useless, it's hopeless, I might as well just go to hell, back to prison, right? So, that doesn't make sense, right? So the book is basically, how beauty just turns ugly, because, it did turn ugly. Dysfunctional home and mother going through some things, and alcoholism and violence and Al Green all at the same time, right? So your wrath has passion to it, right? When the house getting towed up to Betty Wright, right? It's a passion to this stuff, right?
Oh, man.
And just how I couldn't go nowhere but prison, or the grave, right? Because you can't live against the grain like that. However, again, the death talks about, the breakdown process and, standing back up and being everything you thought you once was. I wasn't nothing until after the breakdown, brother. You know why I say that? Because a lot of brothers didn't get up after the breakdown, right? And if I can,
it's true.
If I can, real quick, I was in solitary confinement for too much influence. I did 2 years for too much influence. When I was gang banging and spilling blood, I did months and weeks. But when I got wise and started telling brothers, let's figure out a way to get home and stay home, I ended up doing 2 years in solitary confinement for too much influence, right? But in that time, I had a brother who I used to build with, and I'll wrap this up quick. We do push-ups, and when I needed a voice of reason, he would be that voice of reason. One night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, electronic doors, I heard the door open. This is abnormal. What's happening, right? Go to the door, basically the goon squad, that's what we call them, out there with the riot gear on, standing around my man's door. So I'm like, what could have happened at this time in the morning? They brought my man out, butt naked, feces all over his body. He done smeared feces. He lost it, bro. I'm talking about a dude who was just as strong-minded and as I was yesterday, right? A minute ago, right? And that kind of just messed me up a whole lot, you know. But to get back up from that, you know, I say I was then the dude that I always thought I was, you know. You don't know your strength until you done overcame that breakdown, right? So it talks about that process. It answers the question, why guys go to Islam in jail. Well, because I was a Christian my whole life and I went to jail. It wasn't strong enough to get me out of my stuff.
Okay.
So I needed that, but I even grew up out of that. And you know, the resurrection talks about battling with that. You know, I had more battle with that than I did old friends. Old friends, I understood them, they understand me, and I still love them, and I understand where you at, and I'm on another level. If you want to go here, come on. But I never had the conflict or feeling like I'm going to slip back to that, but I did feel the conflict of the religious pressure, like, you know, but it's bigger than that. Like, yeah.
I want you to table some of that because
Yes,
I
sir.
got
I'm
another.
sorry.
You said you all right, brother. But
You all right with me? You all right with me?
Something
Because you
that
feel
we
the
need to
passion.
discuss.
Yes, sir.
Right
Yes,
now,
sir.
right now,
Yes, sir.
I got one of the biggest things that come up for the 4205.
Amen.
With respect to our gang culture.
Amen.
So we got something in the works right now.
Yes, sir.
Where we finna tie up some ends and
Yes,
truth
sir.
some things up.
Yes, sir.
And it's gonna be a big thing and a great look for the 4205. We finna change what we term negativity, the red zone, into a clean zone, a safe
Yeah.
zone.
That's right.
You know, we're gonna
Much
empower something that they have stripped the power out of. And so we're gonna talk about that, brother.
Yes, sir.
Right now, and I want you to let people know where they can get your book before I go off to the next one.
Right, Amazon.
Hold your book up again.
And what's the name of the book again?
The Passion of the Life. The Life, Death, and Resurrection of Philip A. Sample. Yeah, this is a pretty good read. You know, I read 1,000,000 books, and I don't say that because I know the author. But it's a pretty good read.
Good.
Mr. Gordon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 6 Mile Negus on the honor roll at Michigan. A lot of people don't know what that word means. A lot of people interact with me and they give me this look. I know you're on TV too, but I even get like an audio, you know, like 6 Mile on the roll at Michigan. Oh God. And they're like they joke with me like, oh man, you're brash. You got you trying to like really make a punch statement, you know, putting the N-word on your book cover. And that's why I talk about self-talk and I talk about negative self-talk. But even though, you know, black people, we alchemists, you know, we turn nothing into something, like that's what we do. That's why the N-word, you know, we can argue it's positive. But negus, this word right here predates the N-word. This word has a etymology of Ethiopia. Etymology means the origin of the word. That's Ethiopia in the eastern side
One of my
of
favorite
Africa,
studies.
the continent of Africa. This word means royalty, king, queen, ruler, higher thinker. This word negus, pronounced just like that, existed way before the N-word. But somehow the N-word is prevalent in our community. But we had a word all along we've been using. Yeah. So that's just one potent feature of the book. Go pick it up. It's available on Amazon right now.
Hold that book up.
I published it. This is my first professional work. It won't be my last, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I do. I'm creating a brand right now. I'm trying to learn. But this work was my honors thesis at the university. After I got kicked out, I went to jail in the middle of going to U of M. They say I broke into the gym. I had a series of racial discriminatory acts faced against me, and sometimes I also put myself in the wrong place, wrong time in certain situations as well. And so, and I know we got young people watching, so I never blame no white person or no system for what I do. For what I do. At the end of the day, I still can't do it. I got too much pride, and maybe something we can talk about. But the book speaks on me. This book speaks on my essence. The book speaks on my train of thought. It's a collage of thoughts. Okay. But what it does take you through is my journey graduating with honors.
So why should others read your book?
They should read it. For one, if you're a fan of poetry, it's dope. It's just I'm not really, you know, I can be real braggadocious, but a lot of people like the book. Like, people have told me that I don't know, told me it's good. And I'm not a person, because me, I'm honest with people. I say, that's all right. I tell people if their product was decent, so I expect people to give me the same love. And people haven't done it. It's a quality work of art. I mean, it's time for some literature. You know, let's go into another Renaissance area.
Right.
Let's go into another period of higher thought. And this is just my contribution. This is my first contribution. I was 24 when I wrote this. And pick it up. Pick it up. Give it, like Nipsey said, give a young niggas some eyes. Give me some vision. Give me, check it out.
And you said it's on Amazon, right?
It's on Amazon.com, and it's more importantly out my trunk. Holla at me. Detroit Gordon.
Yeah, we'll pull up on you wherever you at.
Is it out the trunk or
Out the trunk. I'll pull it up on you. Detroit Gordon on Instagram. You know, man.
We trying to do what Master P did with books.
That's the number, man.
Good.
Call me. It's a legal hustle.
Right.
I give my number too. 313-826-5838.
No, go ahead.
All right.
He's still talking.
Well, right now, we want to get to the brother, Mr. Lenard.
Okay. All right. This is my book is called For a Friend. It actually took me 13 years to complete this book. I started writing it in 2003. I was in prison. I got locked up in 2001. And first couple of years First couple of years, all I did was just gambled and, just passed time, And by 2003, I met a preacher. While I was in prison. And his thing was, he instilled in me that everybody has a definite purpose in life. So at the time, I didn't know what mine was. Growing up, I thought I was going to be a football player. And then, when I started selling drugs, I thought I was going to be a Scarface or somebody, you know what I'm saying? But that wasn't my definite purpose. I started writing poetry, as a form of therapy. It was therapy for me. And from there, I was, talking to guys, I was in the federal system, so I was around different guys, from different parts of the country. And one of my best friends, he was from New York. And I heard something. I heard a conversation, basically, between two guys and, my friend. And I thought about it. I'm sitting up here, and I'm like, man, that'll make a good book. And at the time, I was reading urban fiction, and it got kind of repetitive, right. And, and the originality was going and everything. And I was thinking to myself, like, I can write something, better than what I'm reading. So I took that along with, thinking about what my definite purpose was, and I started writing, and I came up with this novel right here. And not until like last year did I discover that it's something more than just entertainment. It's basically about a guy who decides to get involved in the game and whatever without thinking about the consequences, of his actions and everything. And once the consequences of his actions hit him, it not only affected him, but it affected, his family members, his wife, his son, his mother. And that's something that most of us probably didn't, take account about, how our actions affect our family members as far as like going to prison. Because, they're going to be the ones we calling, running up the phone bill and stuff like that, sending us commissary. So it's a lot of lessons in this book. And from what I've heard, I talk to guys in prison who read this book, and they say it's like, y'all heard of The Coldest Winter Ever? They say it's like one of the top books ever. I got a couple guys telling me, it's up there. I love that book and everything, but
good deal. Good deal.
So I'm getting great reviews from it, and it's not on Amazon or anything right now because I'm in the middle of a book deal somewhat. So I took all my stuff off Amazon, but.
You can still come out the trunk, though, right?
Yeah, I got them all in the trunk.
Oh, you
yeah,
got them in the trunk? No, you got them in the trunk.
Oh, man.
Hey, we'll get them out there for you. If they're in the trunk, we'll get them out there.
Make them say,
You can reach me on Instagram at writer4real, writer4real, and I'm on Facebook at Mark Lenard. And like I said, I got them in the trunk, but it's a great book. It's a great book, and I'm not just saying it just because I'm the author, but it's the feedback I'm getting. It has people crying, and you know what I'm saying, and it's life, man. It's about decisions and where your decisions can take you, the bad decisions.
Fitz can get all y'all information.
I need all that information. I got all that's going up on the web. All that's going up on the web. When we come back, I want to talk about what y'all doing in the community right now to help others. When we come back, 88.1 WHPR. Mike's out. Free talk.
Beautiful.
Alright.
You not on here, man. Hey. How you is? No, you all up in there now. What's up? You gonna fight me?
Phone calls come in, but y'all talking too good. I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah, I got it.
I was really curious to what they wanted.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt them. So.
Take a call if you have to.
What's that phone? Say the phone number one more time.
313-868-0331.
0331.
Party tonight.
This
white
type
one.
of setting right here. See, this is something. It's like right now what we got sitting right here.
What you got?
It's like panel.
It's sweet.
I had to go somewhere else right now. I can take the same panel right now. Sit down.
Man, you text fast.
Have in-depth discussion. You know what I'm saying? Even before a while.
I thought I text fast.
Necessary. This way it affects our community. That's right. Yes, sir. Let you tell. So, you know, so I'm definitely going to keep you brothers.
That's because I don't like texting.
You texting a whole paragraph.
I mean, even myself, I'm in the salon industry. I do a number of things, but I'm right now at a place in my own life where I'm trying to see what do I really want to do. What do I need to drop in order to really get into the trenches? And all the more reason why that young lady has to sit right there. She's a part of that decision that I'm working on right
Let's set the
now.
phone lines working. Maybe tripping
I'm
around.
taking her. That's going to become my personal assistant because she has
8680331.
You know what I'm saying?
All type of order schools.
Yeah, we went to a lot of schools together.
Yeah, all the schools.
Bates Academy.
I didn't go to Bates, I'm sorry. I went to Burton.
U of M.
Things coming up.
Oh, man, my friends used to beat up the kids. They went to Bates.
You went to Bates too?
No.
Oh, you did? Oh,
No, I went to another school, totally different. And I'm like 3 years older than Justin.
Oh,
So,
you are?
yeah.
You went to Wayne.
Mhm.
That's right. You guys graduated the same year.
Yeah.
Like a week apart.
We got it, yeah.
Remember that?
I went to
Yeah.
Wayne for
Wayne State, you know, that's the Harvard of the Midwest. You know?
for my master's.
Yeah. Where you go now?
I did not finish Wayne State. I wasn't feeling it.
You wasn't feeling it. What you wasn't feeling about it?
I just
It's because you ain't know me. It happens, you know.
so I took a pause on my master's.
Oh man, so you trying to find another school?
Maybe.
So
I'm not in a rush.
you gonna diss my school like that while I'm sitting here?
Hey, I went to the administration and let them know my thoughts. So.
Well, you know, you got certain terms.
Only because I'm paying for it.
I'm not gonna say the
program
certain
isn't
terms
free,
right now,
that's why.
just
So
because I'm
I
on live.
Let them know, like, hey, I'm paying for this.
11:25. We got 30 minutes.
That's real. I know a few people that got a couple thoughts.
It's not a bad school, but I think they need to.
It's
just
the administration. It's administration.
listen a little bit more
Definitely.
to, you know.
They got a term called getting waned.
Oh my.
So are you guys going to continue on
Oh yeah.
more degrees?
I'm trying to get every degree I can.
You satisfied where you
That's
are?
a guy from called Brian Thompson here from Detroit. Actually made that song. I picked it up from him. He wanted to air it out here on my radio show, Wake Up Radio, jazz and smooth R&B. So I'm bringing the fellas back in. Great topics. Great people are in the studio right now. Gonna have some pictures taken on later on. What I need to ask the guys is this: one question, one major question. What are you doing in the community right now to help those, you know, not to follow the path that you're on, or just helping the community, period? What y'all got going on?
My bad.
Man, yeah.
I ain't get you though.
Nonprofit
I did.
organization basically totally geared to formerly incarcerated people and the youth. In my opinion, that's catching this thing on both ends. They talk about from school to prison pipeline, and even from the cradle to prison pipeline.
Okay.
So you can't address this thing without addressing both ends. The best way to stop this, man, is just to starve the beast, right? That's a term that's widely used, but it makes a lot of sense that we can stop our babies from going there and give it, and it's clearly, man, I'm telling you that God is alive in the most rogue of youth. I'm telling you, as a personal witness there, it's about, do you have the patience and technique to get down there to it, right? But it's a question of idle hands being the devil's workshop, man. You got to go ride through Chalmers or whatnot, and just look. If you were a child, what do you have to inspire you? You don't even have nowhere to shoot a basketball. Even if you had an inherent skill that you was born with, you have no place to hone that thing, right? So just providing places of recreation and just building with the youth, and that's what I'm on. And I'm a minister by nature, but it's not an on the soapbox public thing. It's up close and personal with everybody I meet. You know, I had, father out here in the waiting room. You know, I found the ear, right, and I'm gonna lean on that thing. Yeah, just living redemption, man. Period. Yes, sir.
What you say?
So I told myself, I read the Bible, and we can talk about it, and it talks about not really talking about the things that you do for the community, kind of like keeping it silent on purpose, where it's like let other people exalt you. So I really just started talking about it because I really feel like I'm really from the community, and I don't like branding or marketing that. So but I say it just cause I'm saying that for a reason. I'm saying that as a message to everybody. Please, I think it is value of marrying and helping in silence. But as I digress, what I done, I probably been in 20 schools this school year. Really, like I said, I want to revolutionize education. And so when I graduated from school, that's exactly what I did. If we talking about just now, over time, right now, I run creative writing workshops, water drives, performances. I mean, I stay in the community, I stay in the schools. Like I said, we did Hutchinson Howe Middle School over on the east. We did King High School, just did Cass. I'm doing a creative writing and a confidence building and performance workshop with the students at McDowell Preparatory Academy on the west side of Detroit. I just was a guest lecturer, a guest teaching assistant over at E-Course High School. So we're not just going to Detroit, we're going to E-Course too, and one of their film classes. So yeah, that's my niche. I want to revolutionize education. I told myself maybe the Illuminati was listening, so when I really put my plan together strong, they're gonna try to kill me once I tell them that I'm about to revolutionize education in this country, because obviously it ain't built for black people. But I'm gonna tell it on TV, so at least y'all, I'm gonna say it again like Nipsey said.
Tell it on TV, tell it on the radio.
I'm gonna say it again, you feel me?
I'm not following me on Instagram.
I understand this is why it's coming from. We gotta hear the revolution education, because I know God gave me a gift for entertainment and art, but I'm gonna use that through reading and writing. I've been putting my money where my mouth is. Like I said, my kids, the students that I work with, I come in there and we get to work. Like you said, I love what you just said. It's so much God in some of the most seemingly rebellious to children, because it's such a need for more love. It's such a need for more love. It's such a need for more just time. People think it's about, book bag drives is blessings from God. I love book bag drives and I love giveaways, but it's something about sitting down right here and you got your young people with you and they can ask you questions. You talking to them. Are you about to, and just being around, that creates that culture of positivity I was talking about when you get to see generations in the same space. That's why I bring my granddaddy with me. And make, like it's but that's just, like I said, I'm really there. I'm really there for you.
Mark? Okay, well this year we started our organization. It's called Detroit Equals Family. And like I was saying earlier, it's based on the premise that seeing that Detroit, we all call Detroit home,
right?
And practically makes us family. You know what I'm saying? And they saying, this comeback about how Detroit is coming back and everything, but it's only happening downtown, really. And in order for us to make a real comeback, it has to happen in these neighborhoods, where the families are. Right. And we need a sense of unity. We don't have that unity in the neighborhoods anymore. And what Detroit Equals Family will be doing, we'll be going into neighborhoods. Earlier this year, we had a dinner, a neighborhood dinner, we called it, where we fed 102 people.
Wow.
And we have another event in July. I'm not sure the date. I have to get all that for you.
Let me interrupt you real quick. You said you had a dinner?
Yeah, we had
And it wasn't But nobody knew about this dinner? Or
I mean, it was like Oliver knew about it. I mean,
Okay.
this was in, what was it? Was that February? I think it was February.
Okay.
Might have been around.
Ain't nobody
It
know.
was a Christmas. It was Christmas. It was a week
Okay.
before Christmas. It was a Christmas dinner. And, we fed 102 people over there in the
Good.
205 because
See, that's the positive stuff we don't hear about. You know, that's the
yeah.
positive
Y'all
stuff
will
we
hear
don't
about
hear
it.
about.
Yeah, y'all
Right.
will. Yeah, y'all will hear about it. And the 48205 is one of the most
My bad.
dangerous
I'm gonna
zip
keep
codes
reaching
in
over
America,
you.
basically.
You look
And that's
like you
what
about to punch me.
we put most of our effort into.
You sure?
And we will be having family outings, is what we call it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
In the neighborhoods, and we will be bringing mentors in there for the kids because, like I said, when I grew up in our neighborhoods, we saw drug dealers and stuff like that, and eventually that's what I became because that's what I saw.
Right.
And we believe that if we show these kids something different, they can be something different instead of what they've been seeing, and that's what we plan on doing.
Make sure we connect.
Yeah,
We're working in the
most
05 as well. I don't know if this brother's a divine conspiracy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most definitely. That's what we'll be.
Amen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say, because brother, he said something, with respect to something that I'm actually working on personally in the 48205, and what our gang culture in the 48205, 7 Mile Blood, so on and so forth. These guys, you have some of these guys. Also, with the organization, which is Thousands Strong, I have a program that I put together that's designed for people who are in gangs. Actually, what we're doing for gangs, to me, and the reason being why I don't do certain things, I would say like this: I was a drug dealer at one point in my life, like a lot of us. So I don't go down shutting down drug houses. What I do is take those minds. That's what we're hoping to do: take their minds and show them how to do different things. Because I can recall the minister saying in one of his lectures at one point that even though we're merchants of death, you know what I'm saying, that you have a skill, you are still independent. That's still business.